During Pooh Shiesty's trial hearing, the Memphis rapper was sentenced. Pooh Shiesty was sentenced to 8 years inside a federal prison for his armed robbery case in Miami, Florida. With the original sentence being 25 years inside of prison, Shiesty used a proffer in court, which means he shared information with the feds for a lesser sentence. Leave a like if you're a fan of Pooh Shiesty. Now, with the trial being over, the paperwork for Shiesty's case was revealed. It states that Pooh Shiesty was arrested for using a firearm towards 2 people in an armed robbery. The original charges being federal charges of conspiracy to possess firearms in an armed robbery and using a firearm during a crime. Shiesty was looking at 25 years in federal prison until he created a plea deal with the feds. As mentioned by Wack100 in DJ Academics, Pooh Shiesty used what's called a proffer. A proffer is when a criminal provides additional information to the feds relating to the offense for which immunity, or in this case, a lesser sentence, is granted. Now, Pooh Shiesty used this proffer to have his charges of life in prison exchanged for an 8-year sentence. But we're now seeing rappers call out Shiesty for working with the feds, giving them additional information on the case on those that were involved. The details that he shared in the court case, it stated that Pooh Shiesty met 2 individuals inside of a parking lot. Shiesty is seen driving a bright green McLaren, with the 2 individuals he was meeting driving in a black vehicle. When Shiesty and his boys arrive, they hop out of the McLaren and met the 2 individuals. A meetup that was set up through via Instagram DMs. It was supposed to be a selling of high-end sneakers as well as narcotics. At the time, Shiesty is seen wearing his famous Shiesty mask. As detailed in the documents, everything was going normal. A negotiation then began for the high-end sneakers until Pooh Shiesty then pulls a firearm out of his waistband. He then used it towards the 2 men, hitting one in the hip and the other one in the backside. Shiesty then quickly grabbed the high-end sneakers and narcotics off of the vehicle and threw them into his green McLaren. While trying to make a quick getaway, a Louis Vuitton bag then fell out of his McLaren's door. Now, in this Louis bag, there was $40,912 all in cash, which is more than enough money to purchase sneakers and narcotics. But after the incident was done, Pooh Shiesty headed towards the airport. He rented a private jet and flew right out of Miami before law enforcement even had the chance of arresting him. While on the flight, Pooh Shiesty then realized he just committed an armed robbery right beside a police station, as the video surveillance you see on screen is recorded by police station video cameras. Now, once the proffer deal was announced in court, that's when we saw Pooh Shiesty arrive to the hearing wearing what's called a turtle suit. So typically when in jail, if you're having a hard time, saying things about your life, crying, things in that nature, law enforcement will then take your clothing and all of your belongings. They will give you this suit to wear instead with nothing in your cell. You cannot do any harm with this suit on as you could with clothing. It's a very sensitive subject. But during this hearing, the evidence files in the court case were revealed. This Instagram photo of Pooh Shiesty was being used against him. As you see Shiesty flexing the all-green McLaren sports car. He posted this photo on Instagram the same day he committed an armed robbery with it. The next piece of evidence was the Louis Vuitton bag. Holding the $40K cash, this is being used against Shiesty, as after the robbery went down, law enforcement retrieved the bag out of the parking lot. They realized that Shiesty uploaded several photos of him stretching bills across his body. The feds downloaded these photos, zoomed in on the serial numbers, and were able to match the serial numbers from the photos with the bills that were found inside of the bag. Now, this evidence proves that it was Pooh Shiesty who robbed these men and used a firearm towards them. He's a very lucky man, only getting 8 years in prison. When you take a look at Florida's 10-20 life rule, it states you'll be put into prison for 10 years if you pull a firearm out without a license. 20 years in prison if you pull a firearm out and you use it without defending yourself, then 25 to life in prison if you pull a firearm out and use it towards someone. Now, Shiesty had to create a proffer deal with the feds in order to get 8 years in prison for this court case. This is because Pooh Shiesty has another case. While performing at the King of Diamonds club, Memphis rapper Pooh Shiesty was performing for a crowd. Now, during his performance, he was seen having 40,000 cash sitting in his skinny jeans pocket. All of the fans that were sitting in the front row noticed that this cash was starting to become loose in his pockets. This is when Pooh Shiesty got a little closer to the front crowd, and everyone that was standing there started swatting at the stack of cash sitting in his pockets. Eventually, all of the money then fell onto the club's floor. With all of the cash falling onto the club's floor, everyone that was inside of the club started swarming the money that just landed onto the ground. With everyone sprinting out of the club after grabbing stacks of cash, Pooh Shiesty was then seen hopping off stage, trying to retrieve his money and trying to get it any way he could. Pooh Shiesty was not quick enough to grab the money. With Shiesty not knowing what to do, he was then seen exiting the club, chasing after all of the people that just stole his money. That's when a fan, who was sitting in the back row near the exit doors of the club, then caught on camera Pooh Shiesty pulling a firearm out of his waistband. On that same video, all you then hear out of nowhere is a firearm being used outside of the club. With all of the fans that are still inside starting to go crazy, ducking behind tables and sprinting into the bathrooms, a witness that was outside of the club claims that Pooh Shiesty got very angry and got into an argument with the security guard who works outside who worked for the club, saying, "How could you let all of these people sprint out of here with all my money?" This is when witnesses then claim that Shiesty used a firearm against him. After it was done, Shiesty handed his firearm over to one of his boys, who was then never seen again. A massive update did come out in this case. The security guard who Shiesty used a firearm against no longer wants to press charges against the Memphis rapper. The security guard stated he wants all statements he gave law enforcement back. He doesn't want to press charges against the Memphis rapper, as he no longer remembers if he saw Shiesty aim and use a firearm towards him. This is all due to the paramedics giving him a sort of medicine to help deal with the pain. This medicine then gave him temporary memory loss, and he no longer wants to press charges. He doesn't want to have a rapper go to prison for life if he doesn't even know if it was him who did it. He doesn't want to be responsible for ruining a young rapper's career. This information will become present to the judge at his next court hearing, but it starts to make you wonder, was Shiesty setting up a proffer deal in his first case, sentenced to 8 years in prison when it was supposed to be 25, to now the security guard in his second case wanting all charges dropped due to temporary memory loss? How much money do you think Gucci Mane and Pooh Shiesty is paying to get out of these court cases? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. It's District Trending and I'm out. Peace.